I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wrenches in my top drawer. Hey, what's up, guys? This is MJ100K, and today we got to talk about why aren't electric cars selling? What is going on? We got my friend Dane on the podcast. How you doing, Dane?
Doing all right, bud. Good to see you.
All right, good to see you too, man. All right, so before we get started, I want to show you guys a little news story talking about why electric cars aren't selling.
I've been in the auto industry 40 years, and I've never seen this kind of investment.
$6.5 billion strictly dedicated to EVs.
Wedbush says spending on commercial EVs should top $1.2 trillion between now and 2030.
We're building the future of the electric vehicle.
In 2022, consumers spent nearly $400 billion on electric cars worldwide. The U.S. is expected to add 1 million new EVs to its roads in 2023. And from 2023 to 2027, automotive companies have committed $616 billion in total investments.
Well, dude, that is over $500 billion.
Where do you think? I question what does it say? 400 billion from consumers. What does that mean?
Maybe they paid that much.
Yeah, the consumers buy $400 billion worth of cars. I don't understand what all that compiles of. But anyways,
I
feel like these numbers are blowing up like crazy. Like they could have added golf carts in there too or something.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, these efforts have hit an unnerving speed bump. EV sales are slowing.
I was a little nervous about going all EV because my husband has an EV as well. And to have two EVs in the house, it's challenging. I think the main issue is the long distance travel.
Yeah.
We've been kind of in that situation. You do have to plan.
Yes.
In August 2023, it took about twice as long to sell an EV in the US as it did the previous January. Gas-burning vehicles were still selling briskly. While slightly more than half of consumers say EVs are the future and will eventually replace combustion engines, less than a third of dealers say so.
You have a product that almost every automaker has hinged their future on. The government is really saying, look, we got to go with electrification. But when the rubber meets the road, when people have to make that decision and a lot of money's involved, we're starting to see that that's starting to take a bit of a hit.
Tesla has slashed prices dramatically. Sales at some EV startups have disappointed, and companies like Ford have ramped up hybrid production as demand for their EVs has leveled off. So what is really going on, and why? And what does it mean for the future?
That's a great question.
All right, Dave, we'll start it off with you. Why do you think electric cars aren't selling?
I think what that lady was saying there is a great point, and something I kind of made a note of earlier is it's really hard to go full EV because you're still limited on range and charging times. They're both kind of a hindrance. So if you're a two-car home, wife and husband, yeah, maybe it makes sense for one car to be an EV because your normal everyday commute might only be 20 to 40 miles both ways. But then you want to go to, your parents on the weekend or visit a friend's at a lake house or take your kids to, soccer practice and another kid's got to go to dance or, whatnot. You don't have time to charge,
Yeah.
It really slows things down. I was looking up some numbers earlier too.
Yeah.
And so like 33% of homes in the US only have one car. And another 33% of cars or homes in the US have two cars, assuming those are probably, two driver homes.
Mm-hmm.
So, it kind of makes sense too. You're in a limited market space since the EV is not the do-all vehicle. It's maybe good for 80, 90% of things for most people, but most people aren't buying for 80, 90%. They're buying for the 5% use, worst case scenario, right? Like, well, what happens if I got to put all the kids in the car and go to grandma's, or like for me, what if I got to haul a load of lumber to do a project or load of metal? I might only have the truck loaded down, a couple dozen times a year, but I still need a truck.
Right. So you're basically saying you feel like EVs are not as good as gasoline powered vehicles overall.
Well, I don't know. Sure. I think they have their limitations. Let's put it that way. I think that as a
Yeah.
vehicle itself goes, I mean, they're sound, they're reliable, but the charge times are a big drawback. And
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing. I mean, you can probably get by with range, but charge times aren't fast, especially at the home if you're only using like 110 or 220. Not a lot of homes have the like the 400 volt or is it 480 volt charging that can do faster, but even then you're still an hour or
Yeah.
more to charge.
Yeah. All right. So I tend to agree with that, Dane. So I came up with 3 reasons why I think that EVs aren't selling. You tell me what you think of these reasons.
Yeah.
Reason number 1 is the slow economy. I mean, they cost more than regular gasoline vehicles, and interest rates are high right now. We're going through extended period of inflation. So people, they're not so quick to jump on a new technology when we're right in the middle of a stagflation economy.
Yeah, cars are more expensive than they've ever been, new and used right now. And now, yeah, climbing interest rates. I don't know what the percentage of people is that are buying cars cash, but it's a small number.
Not a lot.
No, there's not many people like I don't take loans. I know you're kind of the same way. You don't do loans. There's not a lot of people like us that are buying cars cash. Most people are okay having, I think the average car payment's like almost $700 a month.
Yeah, it's
That's all right.
crazy.
Yeah, it's like probably $700 a month. I remember seeing that here just recently. It's a lot.
Oh yeah.
And with everything getting more expensive, your groceries, fuel, hell, even electricity cost to charge isn't cheap.
Oh.
It might be half the cost of tank of fuel, but you have to pay to charge your car.
Yeah,
everything's more expensive, so it just slows down sales altogether.
Yeah, definitely. So my number 2 reason why I think they're slowing down is they are out of first adopters. First adopters are people, as I'm sure you've heard this before, they're the first people to jump on a new technology.
Yeah.
They want to say, oh, I've got the new thing. I've got the new iPod. I got the new car. I got the new this or that. And I think the ones that are out there have already purchased EVs. So right now we got to go after the slow adopters. They're like, well, I'll give it a try. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And the slow adopters right now are, they're looking at the economy too, and they're not so fast to jump on the bandwagon right now.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I kind of made some notes too on what I thought as well before we kind of got on here today. And yeah, the kind of note that I made is I think EVs have kind of lost their luster. There was kind of that excitement when they first started coming, and Tesla makes this car and look how fast it goes 0 to 60. And here's a Lucid, look what it does. It's super fast. It's faster than the world's fastest supercars, in the quarter mile. And there's all this kind of hype around it. But then that, like I said, that reality keeps setting in of the use case and the costs, and it hasn't made that leap yet that makes it, appealing to the, like I said, your more average consumer. That's not really looking for the flair. Like I said, the luster's kind of gone on those first couple buy-ins, and some of those people might have felt the pain, right? They might have thought, oh man, I'm gonna get this cool new thing. It's not what I thought it was.
I saw a statistic. They were saying a good amount of people that have purchased EVs would not purchase another one.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, like they're not as happy with it, I guess, as they thought they would have been. I forget the percentage, but it was a good percent. Not all of them, obviously, but
did they say what the complaints were or the reasons why? I have my theories.
Just what you were talking about, the range, the charging time. It's hard to have, like you were saying, there are people that have 2 vehicles in the house, and it's hard to charge both of them. You can't have both EVs,
Right.
Like you could, but you have to get another charging station in one house, and it's just people aren't ready for that kind of hassle, I guess. All right.
Yeah.
And my third. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I'll just tack onto that. Like I said, like we were talking too, they're kind of like one trick ponies, so they might have just lost their novelty too. You kind of got bored of that. You know, because how many like specialty cars are out there that actually sell numbers? Let's think, you know, that was kind of the big thing with EVs. Look how fast they are. Look how fast you can go stoplight to stoplight.
Yeah.
But look at like the Dodge Demon, which is an 800 some horsepower car that was supposed to be this awesome quarter mile, you know, track ready machine from the dealership. They sold 3,300 of them.
Yeah.
Those things just don't sell big numbers. You know,
Yeah,
that's kind of the market that they're in right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yep.
They've used up their market share.
Yep.
So my last reason, and this one's a little longer, but just hear me out.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that they are as good overall to gasoline cars, and I'll give you an analogy. Now, when I was growing up, I used to box and I used to jog all the time. Like I would do road work like almost every day, and I had a Walkman, right, to listen to music because I have to listen to music when I'm jogging. So I had a Walkman. You know, you got like tapes in it, and you got maybe 10 songs on a tape, right? So then they came up with the CD players that you could jog with them and they wouldn't skip. So I got one of those. So now I'm like, okay, now we're really in business. I could jog, and you know, things are going good. But then they came out with the iPod, and I remember my little brother had one before I did. And I said, let me see this iPod. I was like, what is this? And then he's like, oh, I could put 5,000 songs on this. I'm like, what the frick? You could put 5,000 songs on one little thing, and it's smaller than a Walkman. And you could get 1,000,000 more songs on it, but it would cost a lot more. They were like $200. A Walkman was like $50. So I was like, I am going to get this iPod because it's so much better. And that's what reminds me of electric cars. I think for them to naturally switch over, for people to just gravitate and want to buy them, they'd have to be superior to gasoline cars. You know, you'd have to be like, why am I not driving an electric car? It gets 1,000 miles of electric range, and it charges in 30 seconds. It's like, and I could charge it anywhere. I just plug it in the regular outlet, it charges. Then I think people would be like, yo, this is no comparison. It would be like the Walkman to the iPod. And even if it costs more, people would just want it, and it would destroy. Like you can't even buy a Walkman anymore. You know, it's all iPod.
They're gone. How many people listen to this that don't even know what a Walkman is?
Yeah, I mean it's ancient history.
Yeah.
But even during that time, like they just eclipsed them fast, and you didn't have to make people buy an iPod. People just wanted to buy them, and they were willing to pay more because they were way better. The electric cars, they're not there yet. They're not just going to naturally eclipse anything. And, you know, they're out of first adopters, and you just got to get the regular people to want to buy them. And they're like, well, they're close, but they're not better. They're not even close to being better.
No, they got a long ways to go, man. I'm 100% on board with you. You got to spend a lot of money to go backwards.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to get this, like I said, the same range, the same conveniences. You know, would you spend twice as much money for half the horsepower in a car?
Yeah.
Right. You're going to spend more money. Like you go buy a new Mustang, you're going to spend more money on the one that's supercharged at 700 horsepower because it makes more power. You're not going to spend double the money for the 4-cylinder that gets better gas mileage.
Yeah.
So there's a fun factor there too, you know?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think most of the first adopters, they are people who are, I think they have considered themselves environmentally conscious, and they feel like EVs are going to really help the environment, save the planet, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I mean, it's hard to really figure out which one is worse for the environment. Like, I know they got studies and everything that say EVs are better, but you know, you still have to produce the electricity for the EV. You know, what do we do? We got mostly coal plants, a little bit of wind and solar and nuclear. You know, so are they really that much better? It's really hard to say for sure.
Yeah, the jury's out. I've heard so many arguments going one way or the other. The one thing I kind of see consistently is the worst thing for the environment is just manufacturing cars in general. So
Yo,
stop
I was
buying,
just about to say that.
yeah, so stop buying new cars and just keep your old cars running if you really want to save the environment.
Oh my God, Dave, you destroyed my argument for
Yeah.
that.
Should I say something conflicting?
I would know. I mean, you didn't destroy it, but you stole my thunder.
Oh, damn.
That's okay. But yeah, I was going to say that, like, if you really want to help the environment, we need to buy less cars total.
Mhm.
And we need to keep the cars that we have for as long as possible, because, you know, they're looking at, oh, it costs this much for the environment to produce a battery, but the battery is one part of the vehicle.
Right.
You still got to make all the steel, you got to make all the plastics, all the wiring harness, all the sensors, the glass,
Yeah.
and you got to test them, like all that stuff. It costs CO2, and I don't see them being included in the equation of, you know, gas versus electric.
Yeah.
You got to make the whole car and then ship it usually across the whole freaking world.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's, yeah. And guess what? All those machines are on that make those cars, electricity, and then electricity is polluting on top. Yeah. Manufacturing costs is, for as far as pollution goes, is super, super high. You know, where cars burning actual fuel is like bottom 10% of like what all goes into the atmosphere as far as pollutants and, you know, burnt fuels. But yeah, it's, I don't know. I don't really like it. People want to argue one or the other. I just shake my head and say whatever, duke it out, because I've heard it both ways. Depends on what stats you want to look at. But
yeah, I mean,
yeah, you want to save the environment. Stop buying new cars. Stop buying new stuff altogether. Keep your old stuff alive.
Yeah, and buy stuff from your country so they don't have to ship it all the way across the planet to get to you. Yeah, but like I said, it's hard to tell which one is worse for the environment. But what we can do is, I got another video, and I want to show you guys I'm going to show you one of the places where they get these the materials for the battery. All right, so here we go. This is a mine. This is a story from Unreported World's YouTube channel called The Toxic Cost of Going Green, and I will put a link in the description so you can see the whole video. I urge you to check it out, but we're just going to look at a short part of it right now.
These stones have become crucial to our way of life. They are called cobalt, essential in green technologies from electric cars to rechargeable batteries. But while its stock price is predicted to soar, there are minerals that are worth billions of dollars. The people who live and work here are paying a heavy price.
All right, so if anybody's listening to this, the person said, I feel like I'm suffocating. Apparently these mines make a lot of dust, and this dust is kind of getting everywhere in the local environment, and it's hard to breathe. And we're seeing a picture of somebody. They are taking a sample of the water in a local river, and it is it's totally acidic. It's basically is ruining the water. So
it looked like there was a lot of smog too above that mine and in that like little town there. You know, you see all that fog like when you first started the video.
Yeah.
So, yeah, killing the air, killing the soil.
Yeah, that's not good. So here we go.
It's acid. Acid. Yeah.
Causing birth defects too. Is that what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, they had two children in this video who were born with birth defects. I'll see if I could find it. One of them had a very enlarged head, and the other one's limbs were not working right. So they had to they couldn't walk, so they just kind of scooting around on the ground.
Jeez. Where's
it? Yeah, look, this is in the DRC, I believe, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which is in Central Africa. And I believe these mines are owned by the Chinese. So there aren't a lot of safety precautions or anything. They don't have OSHA over there, apparently. So
no, they don't in China either.
Yeah, so they just kind of doing whatever they want to do. And look at this giant hole they're putting in the ground.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Artisanal mines like this are built in the shadows of vast industrial mines. The huge pits provide the bulk of the world's cobalt. Every industrial cobalt mine is majority owned or operated by foreign countries. Usually it's the Chinese, while the DRC itself owns only a minority stake in most mines.
All right, so yeah, you hear that, Dane?
Yep.
This is where we're getting all our or a lot of the materials for our electric car batteries from mines that are owned by China, and people in Africa are going to get the materials, and a lot of times they are ruining their own environments.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, really, and that's not just for EVs, it's for all batteries, right? And electronics. And yeah, I mean, we're so fortunate living in America to not have to deal with the problems some of these people have to deal with in other countries.
Yeah.
But yeah, we go day to day and just have all the blessings that we have and forget that someone else is suffering somewhere else because of stuff like this, to make our lives easier. It's not necessarily the best thing you want to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad. I wish like if I were in charge of everything, I would let, the mines could still happen, but at least they should be trying not to destroy the local environment. They're destroying the rivers. They should be wearing safety equipment at least, so they're not breathing in toxic dust all day and having birth defects. Like, that's not cool.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's sad. It is sad. And it's something to think about. I'm not going to say you shouldn't buy an EV because of that, but just think about that when you're like, oh, I swear I see some people online and you think that electric cars were like their religion. And like they just keep browbeating you over it. Like, oh, you could buy an electric car. You need to stop polluting the air and blah, blah, blah. Like, you know what? All you're doing is polluting the ground with these electric cars instead of the air. Like, you're still polluting.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Just because you drive electric car doesn't mean you still don't have blood on your hands too. It's we're all guilty to some extent, of pollution and, like I said, causing these kinds of problems that we saw in Africa there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, we'll wrap this up. Dane, I want to ask you before we go, what if you were in charge? What would you do? Would you push for an all EV future, a partial EV future, or would you let the market decide? Or do you have another plan? We need to know, what is your plan, Dane? How are you going to fix this? Yeah, how are you going to fix this?
Well, it's not up to me to fix. I'm a market guy. Like your example with the Walkman to the iPod is perfect. If the EV car is better, people don't need to be incentivized to buy it. They're just going to buy it because it's better. So I think we don't need to force, continuing to make EVs and starting to make laws against, gas cars or diesel or natural ICE engines, they call them now, or internal combustion engines. We need to make laws against this stuff or incentivize electric car sales. When it's better, people will buy it. And they're just behind right now. They need to catch up. And I think they're going to get there. It's just not going to be overnight, not as fast as some might like. But we can move at the pace of innovation, and it's hard to force it unless you got super wealthy investors like your Elon Musk that's making these groundbreaking breakthroughs to push the technology where it is. He's done a lot for the EV market. Imagine where we'd be with EVs if there wasn't a Tesla. Now all the big automakers are having to chase them because they're number one in the game.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's coming. It's just not going to be as fast as people like, and by no means do I feel like either one should be mandated or regulated.
Yeah, I agree. What I would do if I were in charge, like if I were mechanic president of the United States, what I would do is I would do definitely a partial push for EVs. Like I would still try to set up some infrastructure, charging stations, and I think they need to rethink these charging stations. They just got them out in the middle of nowhere a lot of times. They need to be like near stores, just like gasoline vehicles are. So you could stop, you could go in the store, you could use the bathroom or whatever. And sometimes I see charging stations. There's like in a parking lot somewhere, and you don't want to be there by yourself in the middle of the night. So
Right.
But anyway, I would. Oh, were you going to say something?
No, I'll keep going. I got a question for you too, but keep rolling.
Oh, okay. But yeah, what I would do is I would definitely cut it to a partial push for EVs. You could continue with some incentives, but I would not be telling automakers that they have to do this by a certain time. That's just not going to work. I don't think you're going to be able to make customers buy EVs. So, you can help nudge, but slow the roll on the forcing of it.
Yeah.
So what was your question, Dane?
Oh yeah. Well, my question. So I'm going to assume that you're not ready to buy an EV today. Is that a fair statement?
I'm not buying one.
All right. Well, what's it going to take for you to buy one? What needs to change to where MJ is going to be like, you know what? I'm going to get me an EV because EV is awesome now. What needs to change?
I got to be honest. I've thought about this, and this is going to sound like a weird answer, but I don't care. If they made an electric Nissan 240SX, this was my favorite car. I wish I never sold. I had a 92 240SX, red, and I had only sold it because I was completely broke and I had to pay for my last semester of community college. I was crying when I sold it. If Nissan would make electric 240SX, I would buy one like today.
Yeah.
Like if it was around like 30, 35, 40,000, I would get one. Other than that, I could wait.
Yeah, I thought about this too. I've gone back and forth, especially when like Tesla was offering, free charging if you bought one of their cars, and fuel prices were really high, like 4 or 5 years ago. I'm like, man, I can almost offset the cost of the payment just by not having to buy fuel. But then I got to drive a boring ass Tesla car. They're just not fun, and that's what you kind of hit on with the 240SX. It was a fun car to drive.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how much experience some of these people are going to be listening to that have driven electric vehicles, but they are quiet, boring, numb, lame. This is when the internet hates me and lights me on fire comes in. They're just boring ass cars. Make them cool. Make me want to buy one of these things.
So let me ask you, I know you like Silverados. Would you get an electric Silverado if it was the same price as the gasoline one?
No, because the range.
Range, yeah.
Yeah, the range. And not that weight is a huge factor, but it's a factor too. Like the electric trucks are really, really heavy. And so that comes with added cost too. There's a lot of, extra braking, wear on parts, heavier duty tires. There's just things that come into play. It's still kind of an inconvenience at that point. And in my personal use of the truck, there's lots of times where I'm going long distances. So it's an inconvenience to have to charge for, 3-4 hours or whatever it might be to have the range I need to go. Yeah. I go cross country a lot, buying used cars and fixing stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. All right, cool. All right. Well, that's our answer, people. We think that electric cars are not quite there yet. They're out of first adopters. And we think that it just needs some more time for people to come around to them, and they need to be superior. When you're going to switch over, it's got to be better. Not everybody is ideologically driven to buy a vehicle. But
I got one more thing to add now I think about it.
Yeah.
Most electric cars or EVs are cars. And that's only like 15% of the market. The biggest chunk of the market of cars that sell right now is crossovers. They got like 40% of the market, followed by trucks at 22 or 21%. And there's not hardly anything EV in that range. People aren't buying sedans and cars.
Crossover, yeah.
Small chunk.
Yeah.
So, hey, automakers, make something cool that people are actually buying.
Yeah.
And then we'll start using them.
Good point.
Yeah.
All right. So sorry. So before we get out of here, My friend Dane does have a business. Dane, could you tell us about your business real quick?
Yeah, so I do some custom metal fabrication. I do some stuff with hot rods too, but mostly focused on like interior, like hand railings and some decorative pieces like that. Got an Instagram you can look at. It's at Cobbleworks. I'm sure MJ can put up a link or something here and
Oh,
show you that.
and it's called Cobbleworks?
Yep, COBBLEWERKS.
Okay. So, and you can make custom pieces too if somebody wanted something custom?
Yeah. So I've done like bumpers and some chassis stuff for cars. Like I said, I've done a lot of like interior work with like railings and stairs in homes. That's kind of been my major focus over the last 2 years or so is that more interior work. But yeah, I can't get away from hot rods on cars, so I do that stuff when it comes as well.
All right. So if I buy a gasoline 240SX and I want to convert it to an EV, you could make me some mounts or some
Oh
brackets.
yeah. I got a CNC plasma table, so I can make all kinds of brackets. I got a tube bender. Yeah, we can. Yeah, that's no problem. I've got a pretty cool not EV swap project, but I got an OBS Chevy truck, so it's a '97 Chevy pickup. That's really clean. It's like no rust. It's got just over 100,000 miles on it. I'm gonna be pulling that motor out this winter and probably putting a twin turbo LS in it. Making a sleeper go fast little work truck. So
sweet. All right. So if you hit up Dane and get something, mention that you got the idea from MJ, and then Dane actually has to give me 100% of the profit if you just mention my name. So go ahead and do that.
Yeah, we'll have to work on that contract.
All right. Well, thanks for coming through, Dane. Everybody, thanks for listening. If you got any comments about electric cars or cars in general, please put them in the comments. And I will see you guys later. Thank you for tuning in and have a good one.
Yep. See you guys. Thanks.